Hello and welcome to the second lecture of digital image processing using Python. Mostly it is about image acquisition, and we will discuss little about spatial resolution and intensity resolution. So for a simple imaging system, first ingredient is light. Secondly, reflected light from the object enters imaging system through some arrangement of lenses on the image plane. This object is continuous nature, definitely, but the imaging plane has finite set of sensors placed in 2D matrix. In short, a digital system, a digital image has a discrete light intensity levels in 2D. Here is an example of original image and a digitized image. This small image is like 14 pixels by 12 pixels, but mostly images are like hundreds or thousands of pixels in one dimension, just like one we have on the right side. A very small region in a red box is zoomed in and 1 pixel is marked in this area. So, original view of the picture seems to be continuous, but it is digital with very high resolution. So the number of pixels along x-axis and the number of pixels along y-axis are like hundreds or thousands. Let's consider a digital image, a grayscale image. We usually call it black and white. Technically, black and white images are like binary images. If we have an introduction of any programming language and know about 2D arrays, then digital image is just a 2D array of integers. So a small portion of this picture is zoomed in, and this portion of image is represented in numbers. So in computer memory, it is just like a 2D array, and we can represent this image mathematically as I, which is the light intensity, as function of u comma v, where u and v are the indices of this array and u and v are the natural numbers or integers. Just like we have 2D in C language or Java or Python, so they are like indexable arrays, and their indices starts with 00 location and 001 location, 02 location, and so on, 10, 12, 11 and 12. So it's a 2D array of integers. Mathematics required for image processing. Calculus and linear algebra are the minimum requirements. If you know about derivative, then we can deduce discrete version of derivative. However, good mathematical background will help you a lot, like probability and statistic, differential equation. Computer scientists are supposed to develop software like Photoshop, GIMP, or Inkscape. That's why they require knowledge of mathematics, algorithm, and programming. Whereas artists use image processing tools to modify pictures, so they don't require knowledge of mathematics, algorithm, or programming. They just need to learn about these tools and definitely a good aesthetic sense. Most hobbyists follow artistic path, which does not require much math. This course of image processing for computer scientists and engineers. So we will follow the whole theory of image processing along with Python programming language. We will mainly focus OpenCV module, and definitely course is not a comprehensive course in GIMP, but we will cover a part of GIMP, which is in fact a software for graphics design. Light has electromagnetic nature, and human eye can only see visible spectrum, just like we can hear 20 to 20 kilohertz, whereas frequencies do exist beyond this range. Visible range includes 380 nanometer to 750 nanometer. So this is the visible range of the spectrum, and below 380 is the ultraviolet, and greater than 750 is infrared range. This violet color starts from 380 to 450, similarly blue, then green, then yellow, orange and red. So these all different colors are in fact different wavelengths of the light. Here is the basic phenomena of color visibility. The colors humans perceive as determined by nature of light reflected from an object. So for example, if we have a white light, which in fact contains all the wavelengths, is shown onto a green object, it absorbs most of the wavelengths except green wavelength. So the green color reflects from the object, which is in fact green color object. Then it is perceived by the human eye and is interpreted as green color if a human eye is not color blind. So image can be made from any form of EM radiation. Camera we use in general is called optical camera and can take images in visible range only, like this visible range, whereas we can use any spectrum to take images, but there are limitations for each range. Like satellite use RF frequencies to form images, and it is called synthetic aperture radar camera. And similarly, IR cameras, infrared cameras, helps to form images in the dark, in the absence of light, and are used for surveillance. Similarly, X-rays can be used to form images, like used in medical science or metrology to X-ray metals. So here is the more detail about the same concept, like radar imaging or radio wave imaging. Magnetic MRI is once again a radio wave, and microwave imaging, infrared imaging or IR imaging, photographs, ultraviolet imaging telescope, X-ray and computer tomography, positron emission tomography, gamma rays and ultrasound, which is definitely not electromagnetic wave, but once again are the form of wave. Human visual system, how it works. The lens focuses light from object onto the retina. Then retina covered with light receptors called cones, and like 6 to 7 million, and rods like 75 to 150 million. Cones concentrated around foeva over this region, and very sensitive to color. Rods more spread out and sensitive to low illumination levels. So in fact, images formed on this region. Here's another description. So muscle in the eye can change shape of the lens, allowing us to focus on near and far objects, and similarly this can control the light from the outer space. An image is focused onto retina, excite the rods and cones and send signals to the brain. So a proportional image is formed inside the eye, human eye. Here is the optical equivalent of the same concept, a pinhole camera in fact. So the image is formed on the image plane, which is called film, and is proportional to the original image based on its distance and focal length. So that's the distance of the image from the lens, and that's the focal length. Here is a more clear depiction of the same concept. Y is the height of the object, Z is the distance of the object from the lens, focal length, F is the focal length, and we got a same proportional image which is inverted and is formed behind the lens. Human visual system can perceive approximately 1010 different light intensity levels. However, at any one time we can only discriminate between much smaller number of brightness. It is in fact because of brightness adaptation. Similarly, perceived intensity of the region is related to the light intensities of the region surrounding it. So here is the one example. Any sudden change in light intensity may not be sensed because the human visual system takes time to adapt to the sudden change in intensity. Like if you are exposed to some sudden light or sudden dark, then the human visual system takes some time to adopt the new intensity level. So that is why we cannot in fact exactly differentiate between or discriminate between large number of intensity levels. Here's another example which is just like example of simultaneous contrast. So all inner squares have same intensity but appears darker as outer square surrounding area gets lighter. So here and the same grayscale or same color, but it feels a little lighter shade, whereas this inner box feels like a darker shade. So an imaging system in fact absorbs the energy from the reflected object onto the image plane. A photosensor which can sense light intensity is very common in smartphones and helps in adaptive adjustment of backlight of LCD. Similarly, a more sophisticated and miniature light sensors are arranged in a camera in 2D matrix like this one. So each box is in fact a light sensor just like this one. So when the energy falls on the sensor, it produces a voltage waveform, and it is in fact very small size, and all these sensors are placed in 2 dimensions array of image sensors. Definitely we cannot record infinite values along x-axis or y-axis. There are some discrete values which are in fact recorded or sensed along x or y-axis or u or v dimension, like this one. Once again it's a repetition, but images sampled in 2D, that is a finite number of sensors are placed in matrix like along x-axis and along y-axis. Each box is a sensor. Image in reality is continuous in nature along x-axis and y-axis, but we cannot sense image along real axis. So the image is taken only or sensed only in at discrete levels or discrete locations, like over here, over here, over here, over here, and so on and so forth. Secondly, each small box has to be assigned a fixed length of binary number by analog to digital converter. So we assign, say if we assign 8-bit binary number, then there would be only 256 gray levels. End of the day, this image will be a 2D array in a computer memory with integer values from 0 to 255. So that's the original image, whereas the image saved in the computer memory is like a 2D array with light intensity levels in the form of integers. Mathematically, image is in fact a function of 2 variables, x-axis and y-axis, and the intensity levels are like a function in the third dimension. So definitely we do not in fact display images like this. We display images in the form of colors. So it's the same image which is in fact represented or displayed as a function of two axes, x-axis and y-axis. Image data structure is a 2D array of pixel values. Pixel values are gray levels in range 0 to 255. That's a very standard method. Are RGB colors. Array values can be any data type: bit, byte, int, float, double, which are most common in fact data types in programming languages. So this is the 00 index, and then these are the column numbers, column number 1, 2, and so on up to n-1. And similarly we have rows, 0th row, and then first, second up to n-1. So digital image processing specialist talks about image resolution. I mean the number of pixels along x-axis and y-axis, whereas graphic designers talk about dots per inch. This is an example of variety of spatial resolution. This image is taken as 1024 pixels along one dimension horizontally, and then vertically 1024 pixels, whereas this image is taken with half resolution. Half resolution means 512 pixels along x-axis and 512 pixels along y-axis. And similarly then another same image with further half resolution, and so on up to 32 by 32 pixels. Here each image is zoomed in and displayed in the same size, like this image is with its original size, whereas next image is zoomed in, and similarly the sixth image is in fact a 32 by 32 pixel image and is in fact zoomed to display with same size. So the image with 1024 and 1024 pixel has captured very fine details as compared to the image with 32 pixel along x-axis and 32 pixel along y-axis, which has lost almost all the information. So intensity level resolution, which is also called image depth, is used to represent the image. The more intensity level used, the finer the level of details discernible in an image. So if we have 1 bit for each pixel, so the value could be either 0 or 1. It's called binary image or black and white. So we have only two gray levels, 0 for black and 1 for white. And say if we have 2 bits for each pixel, then we can define total 4 gray levels, 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0 and 1, 1, like this one, black color, white color, and 2 gray shades. And similarly for 4 we can define 16 shades, 3 bits 8 shades, 4 bits 16 shades, 5 bits 32 shades, and 8 bits we can define 256 different shades. So that looks to be little continuous in nature as compared to even 5-bit. So each pixel with 8 bits we can define in fact 256 different levels of intensities or gray levels. Here is a biomedical image, the same image which is displayed with different gray levels. Image with 256 gray levels, 8 bit per pixel. So the image looks like this, whereas with 32 gray levels it's like this, 16, then 8, and then 4 gray levels, and then only 2 gray levels, white and black color. So it's called intensity level resolution or image depth. So if you consider a setup of a camera with 8-bit sampling of intensity, then ADC will map some certain maximum analog value sensed by sensor to 255. But in case if the level of light is more than the max value, then a wide range of intensity will be mapped to 255. And this way finer details will be washed out, like this one, the region over here. It's called saturation. So resolution, how much is enough? Like we have two pictures, one with higher resolution, one with lower resolution, and picture on the right is okay for counting number of cars but not for reading the number plate, because the number plate is not clear. Whereas in this picture we can read a number plate, and similarly if we can read, then we can in fact write an algorithm which can read this number plate. In short, low detail image is okay with low spatial resolution. It's like low details with medium details with high details. So with high detail, it is better to save image or form image with more pixel along x-axis and more pixel along y-axis. Image file formats, there are hundreds of definitely formats, but most common formats are like tagged image file format or TIFF, and similarly GIF or PNG and JPEG, BMP, a portable bitmap format, PBM, etc. And image pixel values can be in grayscale. It could be like 0 to 255. In binary, it could be like 0 or 1. Color image is like 0 to 255 range, each red, green and blue. And there could be application specific formats that can have floating point values like we have in astronomy. Here is another information about bits per image elements. So a grayscale image is a one channel image. One channel mean if a grayscale image is of size 100 by 100 pixels, then it is just a 2D array of 100 by 100 values. So 1 bit per pixel is like a binary image, and 8 bit per pixel, which is a universal and very common in photo scans and prints. There could be 12 bits per pixel, 14 and 16 for different applications. And similarly in color images, if a color image is a colored image, then it means there are 3 channels. Say an image is of size 100 by 100 pixel along x-axis and 100 pixel along y-axis, then it would be like 100 by 100 by 3 matrix. So total 24 bits per pixel, and it's a universal and most common standard for saving images. And similarly there could be a 36 or 42 or 32 4 channels with 32 bits per pixel, CMYK. And similarly there are some special images with floating point numbers or negative values. Similarly they have application in medicine, astronomy, or internal processing. Here are some references. This is the end of second lecture, and we will start some basic image processing along with programming in next lecture. See you in the next lecture.